Tene ta nangpa sanjipe tawa la ye shiro da nawa tong do de pa tong sen tsang pa tong oma pa ye pe na ne ta tangpo sum trup ne ta oma pa ye pe ka la pa pa re la oma pa te la yang ta namba sum ye pe na ne kasen oma rongji pe tawa ta chitang tongpa ni de tena pap go bi chū tamchi ngarāng tsūgu nōwa la nōwa nāmba nā tsūpa xār ge war. Te xārwa te ngō rāng yīngi tōmba yīmba te hākō gu ge war. Te tōmba yīmba la hākō na tā te la te ne chay nye mōmba chāgīn yīna yāng tōmba yīmba la xī na te chōng tūn rōwa chay tā. Te yendu nye mōmba xie tāng tā nē sēng la sōpa yīna yāng chōng tūn rōwa chay tā. Te yendu nye mōmba ma yīmba tā chay sēn la jī chō tāng, sēn la chō xie tōng, dōng ngā la yī mī dewa, la sōpa chōng na yāng, tī kē tā tānda chōng tōng rōwa, tā chū tāng jī jūmā tāng, kuñchūp kā ngōng tā sē na jūmā tā bō tōng, mālam tā bō, tāng tāng kā ngōng tā sē na chū tāng jī tōng bā nī yīmbā xī pā tē, pē kāl chē kē yō rē la, tēne tā tē ngū nī kē tōng bā yīmbā tē kāndī sī tēng la pā kē yō rē sē na, tēne jībō kē, ripigo ne tēnā pā pā rē lā. Ripigo ne tēnā pā du tē lā tōmbā tēnā pā gu rē. Tōmbā tēnā pā du tōmbā tē lā yā tā kōrem drabu nī yō rē lā. Tī nā ne tā kōrem tāngbō tē umā rōngjī pī sāl bō rū tēmbā rē.
So for the Buddhist view, there are in general 4 different schools. These schools are the Great Exposition, or Vaibhashika in Sanskrit, the Sutra school, or Sautantrika, the mind only, or Chittamatra, and the middle way, or Madhyamaka school. And so of these 4 schools, we have completed the first 3, and so we're talking about the 4th of these, the middle way school. And so, as we mentioned yesterday, there are basically 3 different types of the Madhyamaka schools, or the middle way schools. And the first of these is the autonomous schools. Now, in the autonomous school, we come to understand that and establish that everything is emptiness, that all phenomena are emptiness. Now, the way it normally appears to us, things appear to us, but the essence of those appearances, of everything that appears to us, is empty, and we need to understand that everything is empty. If we know that everything is empty, then when we have the affliction of greed and desire arise in our minds, then if we know that that is empty, then that decreases the affliction. Similarly, with the afflictions of malice and ill will and jealousy and so forth, if we know that what we are angry or feel hatred against is empty, then the affliction is decreased. And even if it is not an affliction, but it's some other thing in our mind, like depression, like regret, or like unhappiness, or so forth, or fear. If we realize that what we're afraid of or what we're depressed about is empty, then it decreases the fear or the depression. And so it's taught that all phenomena are like mirages and illusions. Relatively, all phenomena are like mirages and illusions. Ultimately, all phenomena are emptiness, and it is important to understand this. Now, how is it that we establish that things are emptiness? Well, we do this through inference, using logic and reasoning. And when we come to establish that things are emptiness, then there is again the sort of sequence of how we come to understand that emptiness. And so the first part of that sequence is the autonomist, or the Sautantrika view. And so that is what was clearly explained yesterday.
Tene tati tombani telaya, tene chitang tombani te ngupo la tene, ngupo senkinchi yore. te me pe tomba ni re se ki che tomba ni che ta te len de pa ye pa ta me pa kanga len de pa tang bu ye pa me na me pa te yung gi yo ma re la me pa me na tham chi ta thalwe ge te ne to ni ta te la tanda te ne Mipham Rinpoche ta te ne Khenpo Gangshar ko namba gen sen so du nam ro ma yin pe tan tam se ge yo re nam ro ma yin pe tan tam te tu ju te ta ti neng ko adabo te ya po ha ko ju te gal chen bo re la te ne ta te su te la pa ge yo re se na ta kam der sa na thal ju ru we lo ba da wa ta pa ta hiwa la la so pa na dombo ni de ni ma che par 당보 군족도 여바리 생긴다 단덤도 매바리 생긴데 마인바 추탐지 예미 소 예바용 마인 매바용 마인 드니 임바용 마인 몸바용 마인 주변 다 탐지 동저 넘로 마인 베당동 돈이도 때나 팝네시 다디 돈이도 때나 팝이요래
So when we come to understand emptiness, in emptiness, first of all, we think about things. Normally we think that things are there. So we think there is something, it's present, it exists, and then we prove, oh, it's not really there. And we think of that as being emptiness. And so that is one type of emptiness, the approximated, the almost, the in the ballpark sort of emptiness, the approximated emptiness. And then there is the emptiness that transcends that. And this is the emptiness where we realize that if you have nothing, if you have non-existence, you first would have had to have existence. So if you don't have existence, then you can't have non-existence either. And so this is an emptiness that is free of all idea of there being something or being nothing, existence and non-existence. And so this is what Mipham Rinpoche and then Khenpo Gangshar following him call in their specific term the unapproximated emptiness, the emptiness that's it's not an approximation of emptiness, it's the unapproximated emptiness. And so this is a really important point. And understanding this point is extremely important. Well, who is it who really establishes and comes to this point? Well, it is as is said here on the section on page 4 under the consequentialists. The consequentialist or prasangika masters, such as Chandrakirti and Shantideva, do not differentiate the two truths. So they do not differentiate the two truths means that they don't say that everything exists relatively and it's empty ultimately. They don't say that. First of all, from the very beginning, they establish that everything is emptiness. So, and they establish from the very beginning that all phenomena are unapproximated emptiness, free of elaborations such as existence, non-existence, being, or non-being. So saying that there's something, that there's nothing, that you can identify it as being something or as not being something. So it's free of all sorts of so this is an emptiness that's free of all of these extremes and elaborations. And so that is the unapproximated emptiness.
Tanda namro main be toni de tena pap gu gi warela namro main be tandam de tena pap du kelin konyo me par yebe tanjuru wa kelin me ji tho ta te la yepa mamba bla so ba kanya me pa tenen ta tam ji dong chalwa ta dal tu dal ta ten su gi warela de ron ton ban non ji ta wa ta tu yi ta chu tang ji toni de tena pap du te la zawa te tena pap gu gi Zawa te tena pagu ki warela, toni te tena yapu che mabab na, teni ngeshi chepar chenji machi na, te si devu yungu yo mare. La, toni te tena pagu bi junsin te kandire se na ngaranzo nyam nyong ke tena pagu ki warela. Ta ti ke ndoi tawa ta uma rongji pa ta tanjirwa, chunta ye ke de se wa ti 다 gombe kapsala tawa tena papa kapsala kandi se gomge yore se na chi ngubo tang nang zuk la sopa zuk nang lu da chi zuk la sopa tang ta tanda hipa la sopa tenzo tamchi rang yin ji ma duba toni yin ba te rigbi tena papa 다 ngaranso shoja chimpo to zopa chimpo gombe kapsala kandi se gomge yore se na chi ngubo te tomba ni re somne gomgu na 대점 debu yo mari la repeat ten la phatu ngi hi che thu yo re te yina yo gam tu te ze le la bo yo mari la ti tsawa san la tu yo re tsawa san la tu ne san chongba la tu ne tene gam ba ka sa la dangbo ta ta ngote nang ge yo re la ngote nang ne ngote nang du te la tene ta tingsang lama chi sin tong ba mang bu phe de nam be san ji ngote na lo ma ten zo la san ji ne lu ngon che de ba mang bu yung ge yo re la ngon che ne nyam nyo che par chin ji je la che ya bu yung ge yo re ya bu yung ge yo re te yin na ya te la 단다 스카히게 초로와라 디 콤페르 좀 마투바 다 초로와 람스 단다 딩상 인지길 마소나 글램뱅 시기도 글램뱅 용기 요아레티 이나야 디 저인 쫑똥라보다 드니 디 콤페르 좀 로네 다지 나라서 드니 상지게 람양 딱발라 저르게 탑디 대점 많이 반다보지 용 초로와 용기 요아레라 디 준생 때 간이 용기 요아레스는 동부 이게 따와디 땜보제 땜나 밥 그바 다텔 펜베게 탑 가르치 그게 요아레스는 이게 따와 생게 고아게 때 니히 야보지 지네 디타인도 다제 냠뇽제 제 드니 딩상가 값을라 제 콘넘바 제 넘바 강가 깔바상 보제네 드니 단다 다튼 몸보감 다튼 몸보감 발라테네 히니 야보 제게 요아 히니 야보 제아테 페메시 깔바상 보레 페 펜도 쳔보레 디타는 생고테게 요아 생고테 바티 페 야보레 생고 쳔바레 생고 쳔바티 콤펠도 땅야 딜라 동보 예 따와야 보지 그게 요아래라 따와텔라 우마 란통도 옌통 그 따와테 고아야 보게 되는 게히야 보지 지나 되네 될 배편도 좀 보여.
Now, when we are coming to, when they establish and come to the certainty that of the unapproximated emptiness, then these masters do not accept any propositions, and therefore the consequentialists are known as having no propositions, and so they don't propose that things are something, that they're nothing, that they're both or neither. They're free of all of the extremes, free of all of the conceptual elaborations. And so this is the final view of the self-empty. And so the basic thing, the ultimate, the main thing, the root that we have to come to understand is this. So we have to establish this. And if we do not really come to establish this, come to be certain of it, then it's really not, it's not very comfortable for us. And so we need to really establish and come to comprehend emptiness. And we have to do this through our experience. So in the sutras, we talk about the views, in terms of the sutra schools, we talk about the views of the autonomist or Sautantrika and the consequentialist or prasangika school. And so we need to meditate upon these, understand them. But in terms of meditating, in terms of establishing this is primarily looking at external things. It's looking at our body. It's looking at the external world. It's looking at our mind and establishing that everything is emptiness. But it's establishing this through logic. Now, when we do the meditations of Mahamudra and Dzogchen, do we do it this way through logic? Well, we don't. In Mahamudra and Dzogchen, we don't really, it doesn't really matter to us whether the external objects are empty or not. It's not so important. It's not so easy to meditate upon this. If you can develop, through going through the logic, you can develop real certainty in this, but it's not very easy to actually meditate upon. And so the main thing that we do is we look at the mind itself, and we learn how to look at the nature of the mind and nurture that experience of the nature of the mind. And so nowadays there we often get pointed out the nature of the mind. There are many great lamas who come, and they point out the great nature of the mind, and there are many students who recognize the nature of that mind. They recognize that they have an experience of the nature of the mind, and that is wonderful. That is really very good. But there are some people who have a feeling that they recognize it, but they aren't able to really develop it. They have this feeling that it's like what we say in English is a glimpse. You get a glimpse of the nature of the mind, but you're not really able to nurture that. You're not really able to develop and expand that understanding. You aren't really able to transform that into the Buddha past. You haven't been able to find the method to do that. And so what is the reason that we're unable to do this? The reason is that first we need to really establish this view properly. First we have to establish the view, we have to have real certainty in it, and then once we have the experience of the nature of the mind, we'll be able to maintain it and develop it. So you all are extremely fortunate now. You are able to do many dhatuns and many retreats, and through this you develop your shamatha, tranquility meditation, and this is wonderful. Through that, then you often are pointed out the nature of the mind, and you often recognize the nature of the mind. And then in order to really develop that, you need to have a solid basis. And what is that basis? That basis is to really understand and be certain in the view of the middle way and the view of the autonomist and the consequentialist schools. And so really understanding these and establishing them is extremely beneficial.
Tene ta te ya tanda ngaranso repeat la pa tawa te la tawa se yore la tene te tembu gu yore te yapo ji gu yore ta ti ten senten gom ni nyong so lomba te gomba se yore la te gomba te la tene chen ji gu yore la ta ti ni ka tawa la gomba gu gomba la tawa gu tawa tum gomba ni di nyom du gu ma to tawadan gomba ni de te khakhan boji sone yapu yung mare se takaji bella ma je ngorji warela tene tate ya tene tawa me pe gomba te lodam dhalan se panda asam tene tate tawa me gomja te de se tu tene lapa me pa je dhole yanja tape na ngaranso American Rocky Mountain la me mombo ya dhalan jargi war Dralan Jaru Caps Lapa Yona, Tini Chapu da, Tila Anunda Mombo Corion, Tini Jailan Tomni, Yatori Zemola, Jartuba Yungi Yore. Ta Lapa Mepate Kopopate Chini, not all in Jargi, Somnaya. Tatini Chapu Dabzi, Puba Dabzi, your Mari, Puba Dabna, Puba Tamia, your Mari, Tini and Jartu yet, Tini Titanala, Tondo Yorella, Tendaboji Yungre. Tini ta te jen da tawa yapuji yepte na kare gugre sin gamba gugre ma gambar menu tawa yu tsubo sene chi banda asi tini ta ti ge tini gam gugre ma to ne tawa yapuji wa ti ki ro peng mare ti me vin pa de perna chupo nda boje chupo che me chupo che yo na me chupo te yapore yina yu chupo te sena chembo chi yo na tini kola lonje yore ine ngarange lo peche tang tugi yo mare senate yin lai pen tugi yo mare ngarang jimbanda bo tang tugi yo mare robanda bo che tugi yo ngarang senna chimbo che tini pen tugi yo mare la jodi yo tawati yapu yo re gom ma na tini te sam peng mare tini sam yo re la tini teacher na tawatum gamba ni bo ti nyomdo yapu je jartu na pe yapu yajin rogre compel rogre tini gom de tembon rogre yapu rogre.
So when we establish this and establish the emptiness and come to gain certainty through it, this is what we call the view. And then when we practice this, we meditate upon it, that's what we call meditation. And we need to be diligent about our meditation. And so our view will help our meditation will help the view. We need these two together. It's important that the two of these go together, because if they're separated and become, if they're removed from one another, then it won't work well. This is something that is said in one of the songs of one of the great Kagyu masters. Having the view, having the meditation without the view is like someone without arms trying to climb a cliff. So if there's someone who wants arms, who has no arms, who is unable to climb, they're unable to climb a cliff. Like these days, a lot of people go out to the Rocky Mountains in Colorado and they go rock climbing. You've got a couple arms and you've got your equipment. You can go up there, you can sink your axe in, or your pike, or whatever, your pick in. You can, I'm not a rock climber, I don't know these words. It's like, you've got your, what is it, your picks and your crampons and all the stuff, and all the things you put, all those things you put in the rock. You put those in the rock and you can tie the ropes and you can climb up the rock and you can eventually get to the summit. And so you get to the summit because you've got arms and you can climb up. But then there might be someone, a disabled climber who has no arms, who thinks, hey, I want to try that. So this person with no arms, the disabled climber with no arms, goes up to the cliff. And the disabled arm, can you put you can't put the things in with your toes, can you? I mean, you don't have any arms, so there's no way you can actually climb, no matter how much confidence you have. The person without arms just can't climb that cliff. And so in the same way, if we want to do meditation, we have to have the view. If we don't have the view, there's no way that we're actually going to be able to meditate. But is it enough to just have a good view? It's not. We also have to meditate. As the song continues, having the view but not meditating is like a rich miser. And so if you have to actually meditate upon what you establish the view. Having the view alone doesn't help you. It's like a rich person. This rich person, they have a lot of wealth. That's great. They've got all these possessions, all this wealth, but they're really miserly and stingy. So they have all these possessions and wealth, but too stingy to use that. I can't spend that nickel, I can't give that money to anyone else. I can't do anything. I've got to keep that money for myself. I've got to be I've got to keep this. This is really important. I have to pass it on to my children. I've got to. I can't spend a nickel, and so you have all the wealth, but you aren't able to spend it. So what good does that wealth do you? So if you have that good view, but you don't actually meditate upon it, it doesn't help you in any way. You have to have the view and the meditation, and these have to be joined. They have to be brought together. And if you do that, then your meditation will be really stable.
Perna kambaji dapna tinitela tangbo tawate perna architecture roje yabuji gogi warela tiniti architecture ke tini go khana chau kenza kabayo tini yapu tani tini pe remoti tini ta titen gomba dabote kande gogres titen khambati jap ta tinte gogirela tini yapu majuna tawa yapu majuna tini pe architecture yapu majuna na gire ngarang tanda malare pe dupu yapa tanda Bhaktapur sisatna tukaji jawarela tini tela architecture te some yapu yomare architecture yapu medu tel tini ko kenza tel lagana dal fugo yore lagana dal kenza tel lagana lo zo chadune tini pe devo mepa tini sopan suna tab madewa tini ta tanda lagana dia tsenditena lagan chimbola nan lagan kenza yo chadu tini chunchu te mato yungu yo mare te jandala tini go tini tate travano gom jasa te ya tini komba takal maimba kashin to kashima tini rabo changyo la tini jima kenza te chulur tengu chumare kenza te chulur tengu te madewa te chabno ne rodo goba 다 강가실로 된 받다고 쳐요래라. 드니 대 동부 아키텍처 야보 마중 말해봐. 따와디 야보지 마중나 드니 검바디 대점 야보 용금도. 따와디 동부 이제니 som노탄도 야보지 땅톱나. 드니 고아디 야보지 제나 드니 야보 용기요래라. 티치나 우마 롱동 그 따와테나. Uma rontong tayo ten song tanya toni ten la papa teta uma yentong tayo ten toni te bamboo tomba main pa salvo imba ti yapote kwa yapote tiena gamion capsule sente nelu la tayo capsule sente ranginji nyejumepa te korang chuni re ngo tomba re la ti tomba imba ti nyejumepa te karere sena uma rontong beten la papa toni di titendo yore toni te kanya yapa maimba mepa maimba korang te yore la ti nyeju yo mare ti yinaya 다 돈다보지 뱀보 나콩다보지 레그르베스나 마리 무니 살와 요아레라 살와 강가 하코그리 히그리 송노 땅 투기 요아레 데 하코기 요아레 초르그레라 디 초르와테 카리레스나 살와 이히지차 살웨기 차데레라 디 오마 옌동 베테나 바베게 살와 이히지 넘바 살와 동 동바니 데 칸데레스나 살동 송둔주 바세나 데 salwa kakaayi ba, tomba kakaayi ba, di ni nyamdo jarde ba nanginji ribisi na mare, kuni ngo tegi tsordula yore la, di koo kita ini ka, di koa di jegiri, nyamnyong kita ini gong yung kapsala, di nyamnyong di nyongwa di nyamdo yung kiri la, di nyamdo tre na, di gom di tembo, gom de salbo gom de la ichi yapa la tene comparison roju yapa ta tinde yongre la di cherna umi ge tawatena papati pe koya boji kia de kalchim.
For instance, it's like if you're building a house. When you're building a house, you first have to have really good plans for it. You have to have the right plans. So first, you have to get you have to have the right architecture. You have to design it well. If you've got a good design and good plans, then you know where to put the doors. You know where to put the staircases, and so you've got the plans, and then you can actually build the house. And so, having the view is like having the plans and having the architecture of the house, and then actually building the house. That's like the meditation. And if you have the good plans, then it will turn out well. Otherwise, but if you don't have good plans, then it won't work out well. It's like the retreat center I had built in Bhaktapur. And when we built this retreat center, we didn't have such good architecture. We didn't do the plans so well. And so the way it worked out at first is like the staircase went up into the middle of the shrine room. So the staircase goes up into the middle of the shrine room, and so then when you're trying to have pujas, there's a staircase in the middle of the shrine room. It's not that easy to have the staircase. And then you look at the shrine from outside, this temple from the outside. It looks like it's really big, roomy temple. You get inside, and it's small because there's a staircase right in the middle of it. And then you go outside, and you look at all the retreat rooms there. The retreat rooms, some are higher, some are lower. It's like going all over the place, and it's not very easy. And so then we decided, well, we need to take the staircase and build a new staircase on the outside of it, but then you have to close everything up and redo all the framing and all this stuff. It's just a real mess. And so this is because we didn't have a good plan to begin with. We didn't have good architecture, and so it didn't work out right. And so in the same way, you've got to have the good basis, the good plan for your meditation. That's the view. It's the basis. You have to have that view. If you have that good understanding, then your meditation will go well. And that's why it's important to understand these views of the self-empty or wrong-tone. That is, the autonomist and the consequentialist schools are often called the self-empty. So these two schools, it's important to understand this. And through this, we can really understand what emptiness is. And then when we have really comprehended and internalized that emptiness, then we can see through the view of the other empty, the shentong, that the nature of that emptiness is not inanimate, blank, dead emptiness. if we have that understanding, then when we actually meditate and we come to look at the nature of the mind, we'll see the nature of the mind, but we'll realize that we cannot actually find its nature in any way. That is just the Dharma nature of the mind. That is the way it is. That is the emptiness of the mind. This is when we look at the nature of the mind and see it, we see this emptiness that the self-empty school teaches. It's not something, it's not nothing, it's not neither, it's not both. You can't put a finger on it in any way. It's just this emptiness. You cannot find it. But is that emptiness that we see when we meditate, is that just blank? Is it like some sort of a rock? Is it nothingness, blackness? It isn't like that. It's got the clarity. It can know everything, and it can understand and think everything. So when we see this, when we see the nature of the mind in our meditation, that is the feeling that what we have. And what is that feeling of? That's the feeling of the clear aspect, of the wisdom aspect. And so that is what we really come to understand and internalize through developing the view of the other empty. That's the clear aspect. So we have the clarity, and we also have the emptiness. And so how are these like? Well, it's the union of the clarity of emptiness. It's not as if emptiness is one thing and clarity is another thing, and then they're sort of smushed together somehow. That's not how it is. It's like one, it's the same essence. And so we have to understand that the clarity and the emptiness are the same in the essence. And then when we experience it, when we look at the nature of the mind, we see these two things together. It's together that we see the emptiness and the clarity. And so if we understand it and have that view, and then when we see them, we recognize it, then our meditation will be stable, it will be clear, we'll have real confidence and belief in our meditation. Because we have that confidence and belief in our meditation, it will be able to really develop. So that is why it is so important to really establish and internalize the views of the middle way.
Tene ta teacher na toni te yapo je ten la pap chadu. Tene te la tene yentong tawa te inji minji gogre sungi wara. Tene yentong tawa me na te chen yo wara sa kamdar sam na tingsan de yunlu na na kelin me pa so sung chai chang la jap so song ne ta te toni yen chi pe chai chang la song ne Trungpa tong dal sam je tong chung hepo he la lo che che de ni tong ba tong chung ba tene tene lam dong debut nam gyo ta de hi nim bo yong men de ser ta ka he de ser ge yo de ya bo yo ma re song ne tan Khenpo Gangshar kong ri ge thok gong ba ta ta de sung a re la ta tong ba tong chung che la song ta ta lam salam ya gu ge ma re debu ya gu ge ma re de hi nim bo sen ke de ya gu ge ma re sin de men de ser debi kong ne chung trudal sen ne yen tong umtun ta la ten do zhen ya de yen tong se du je ya po ma re ngu bu zhen ba re da den zhen ba re sen ne ga kwan da bo jab ge yo re de tong ba tong chung te ya bo yo ma re.
Now, when we are really establishing and internalizing this emptiness, then we absolutely must also have the view of the other empty. If we don't have that view of the other empty, there are problems that can happen. As it says here, these days in this scriptural tradition, people take mere phrases that appear, such as no propositions, as a refuge. So they're just saying everything is empty, it's all emptiness, I don't have any propositions or accept anything. Everything is emptiness. And then they focus their mind single-pointedly on the blank, mere emptiness of the lack of elaborations. They just say that it's just blank emptiness, there's nothing but emptiness. And so they just say it's this blank emptiness. They do not accept the presentation of path and result or Buddha nature. And so they say that everything is just just empty. And if everything is just plain old emptiness, then there is no need to worry about paths and levels, bodhisattva levels. There's no need to worry about any result. It's all emptiness. There's no need to worry about Buddha nature. It's all emptiness. And so this is what some people say, and Khenpo Gangshar is basically saying this is a problem. This is Khenpo Gangshar's opinion, or Khenpo Gangshar's thought here. So whenever such people speak, they repeat lack of elaborations over and over and consider the other empty middle way, the Shentong school, to be barren. So they say that the other empty view is like clinging to things as being true. It's clinging to the Buddha nature as being true, and so it's not good in any way. So they refute it. But actually, that view of everything being just mere emptiness is not good.
Tene tatela tene tati tuntala tinto tseyang Labor mata na muti kerbe tawa tongo nyambe cheparta tsus nyewo yi yentong loben chembo namjin renche do sumbi tati tomba tongchung tini chiya mepa chela songo tangna te chin digi yo mare tini cheta dabo chela roi nyenka yo re yentong loben sungi yo re 송하래라 대점도 마지 단다 사라하게 ngurgen나나 용성나 우포른 점바 촉동다와데세 우포 예 냠든 자이나 테니 롱군다보레 테니 베 쿠바레 롱군다보레 순드 가리숭기 요아레세나 쿠반다보레 닝우부 네서도 마템바 제양성 동마히바 답변나 롱고게 제 요아레 선네 동니리 선바지 로코라는 자니 제뇽게 요 말레라 베 대다 찍반다보지 redla 대점도 마지 단다 의미 점바 대위 좀 라인세 드니야 메바리선 지야 메바리선 딜레 좀 쿠바리 롱고 레장 쿠반다고 지레라 드니테 무비네서도 마텐 바레 드니 단다 가리리세는 예민근 달린데바 데페 토니테 드니 살통 성든 주바세도 오마 옌통 베텐라 파베게 살차테 동 이르메 바제 다 띵문이 나란소 샘된 감베 갑슬라 드니 카난도 코르네 감나야 드니 테쿠 문이 살와세든데 린도가 톰바세든데 린도가 손 센지텐다 다르샤체 바제 홍기요레 perna ngarang huma pesata kapsula tombo tini koanda bochichi tini ngarang pesa drinking kempo tela lodri rapsa shugi yore konla tini te tan drigmendu te tomba te kogmendu toni nangdong main petendang de sabo kogmendu yabu kogmendu se drwa mambo shu kapsula kon karisungre sena ka nangdu korda tindisine kachel korni toge wa changchen seju yo mare ka nangdu korni songmo chitana ha kogre songa tinde kasal phenyam tinde ngarang songmo tona ha kawa ka nangdu kandisi ko ka nangdu ko yarang yo mare ta songmo tani che gowa chi chena mato ka nangdu ko yo mare sambata bochi chongyong la tini tege kapsala Khenpo Gangshar jalne dangwana tindisitu titu kanang to kursun inde suning ngale song te ndala sungo yaware ba song tinde no hargo ba tinde chonrela tini ti tanda tawe tenla papa te don gombe nyonsu nyoni de nyom de yaware.
So when you are, so if you have that, if you examine it carefully, this is the equivalent of the nihilistic view. So Khenpo Gangshar says that if you say it's just mere emptiness, nothing at all, then that is not quite okay. There's a danger that your view will become a nihilistic view, as the masters of the other empty say unanimously. So there are other masters of the Shentong, other empty school, who say this, who says so. Not only So not only that, it is as the great master Saraha said. So when Saraha said in the song, clinging to things is clinging to things is as stupid as an ox. And so if you cling to things as being real, as them being actually there, then that is as stupid as an ox. Now, an ox is used as a metaphor or what is it, an analogy? A metaphor of a comparison of something being stupid. Oxes are stupid. If you say to an ox, everything is empty, then the ox is not going to understand you. And so in the same way, if you don't accept that things are empty, then it's like being as stupid as that ox. But Saraha continues, if you consider it, if you cling to nothing, then it's even more idiotic than that. So if you cling to there being nothing, just non-existence, then that is even stupider than that ox. So that is because it is not at all in accord with the nature of how things are. The actual nature of how things are transcends all ideas of something or of nothing or existence or non-existence. This is the emptiness. It is the union of clarity and emptiness. And the clarity there is the clarity that the masters of the other empty school talk. It's the emptiness is indivisible from the clarity that is taught by the master of the Shentong school. And in order to see this, we have to turn our minds inward, turn our attention inwards and meditate. And then when we do that, then we'll see, that's what the clarity is. That's what the emptiness is. And we can see this in our mind. We see it in our mind, and we really get to the bottom of what it really means to have this union of clarity and emptiness. This is really important. When I was young and I was studying texts, I first, was working on developing the understanding, and I had a Khenpo named Khenpo Lodro Rabsel. And I was always saying to Khenpo Lodro Rabsel, this doesn't work. This can't be. What is this? I don't understand it. What's that? What is that approximated emptiness? What's that unapproximated emptiness? This doesn't make sense. This doesn't work. And Khenpo would always say, you can't look like this. You have to turn inside and turn your attention inside and look at it. You're looking at outside things. If you look at outside things, you won't understand. You need to look inside. And I thought to myself, can't do that. How can you look inside like that? That doesn't make any sense. There's no way you can do that. This doesn't make any sense. Looking inside? Come on. You got to be kidding me. You can't look inside like that. So, but then later, Khenpo Gangshar came and he gave some instructions, and it was like, oh, that's what my Khenpo meant to say when he said looking inside. So that's what it is to look inside. So this is what looking inside is. And so when I had these instructions, it was like, that's what he said. I had this feeling that occurred. And so we have to really understand the view, and then we have to join it with the meditation. We have to have the two together.
Ronton pa namchi ludu zubur ne de rangin de tawa tela luri yonda ga gone laring le parchin sal ronton pa ge chitang toni tena papa de pe yapore be sena yapore chutang je toni de tena pa go de tomba te ta nandong ma in betanda namdong se de yepa ton mepe de se toni ke da yeme jin talin de pe toni je de namba ni yepa ti ne tante yapo je hiju de kalche ge yo la tene ta te la tene kalche ge yapo hiro re toni to pa de yapo re yina yen te la yinchi menchi Devarhi Benimboton, Salvai, Hijin number Tipi, Inchi Miji Yapala, Hakogu Yorela, Tene, the Lepar, Tachi, Yapu, Zigu, Tomba Tonchung, Simni, that Tomba Tonchung Resu Utsu Jayashara Yomare, so on. Cherungu don Umi Kondo Henjon, Tarzambale, Mandeme, Mupolon Zanayan, Tarzin Re, Mumi Danzanayan, Tarzin Re, Talin de Pale. Tanzin le mandeme wenchung luzi yije jin tatong ji kapen tatong charwa zam ji tongcha chongba ke gen ne lu tartu yimba manda de ta rang sem ge ta ji se pe ge tene yepa mare mepa mare tata trawa resi tongcha tomba chong la song tana ten tartu ke ngubu nelu mare song ta tanda ngaran sun doi lomni ta tanda jipo ke tena papa kasala chuji yen se ge yore la chuji yen se du ngubo tangji che noa nang hipa ganga jeyon madrupe tenen 타이게 쭈바동 타웨게 동중 다 내루텔라 추지 옌세 teni tanda kanga nongwa tamchi chardo runga kunzuka nongwa tamchi chardo runga hirrabu je imbeche na tela chuji yen shoge yuwarela chuji yen te teni tate tomba tongchung jeyang meba je ribese na jeyang meba je mare tatela sarcha yuware sarcha te teni sarcha inchi minchi yuware la tomba tongchung te bembu ke tomba namka tomba rabo je yina ko bembo re bembo yindu namka tomba te lo dawa hyo kasi sona yon tel ji tanya yuware bese na yuwa mare chuni ke nelu chuji yen ti ke netang te yapo je hi na tela yen ten kompel to doya yuware la chuji yen ke nelu ti to ne teni sanje ke yehi tang yen ten ta ngaran su songo doje ti pelani yina nyom nyom tene topa cheparjin jilla jaya yuware bese na jaya yuware topa cheparjin koni konto perya yuware bese na yuware te yepi jonsen de kandire se na sarwa yehi ji chati tomba de bembu tomba mayimba sarwa yehi ji namba yepa la tene chungare la tene teacher na tomba tongchong ye nelun tarsu yimba mandra te se ta te la kenchi longjin pege tene timme mare song yuware song.
So generally, grasping at either things or non-things does not transcend fixation on extremes. Grasping at things is an extreme, grasping at non-things or nothing is an extreme. However, the nature of some mere empty aspect that is merely free of extremes because all extremes have been blocked by mentally fabricated supposition is not similar to the ultimate. And so it is good to come to understand and internalize the the view of the self-empty. We need to do that. And when we come to understand the emptiness, then there is the approximated emptiness and there is the unapproximated emptiness. Approximated emptiness is the emptiness that distinguishes between something and nothing, existence and non-existence. And then there is the unapproximated emptiness that transcends any extreme of something or nothing, existing or non-existing. And so coming to understand this is very good. And it's really wonderful to understand it. But at the same time, you also have to understand and comprehend that there is Buddha nature, that there is the clear wisdom aspect. You have to really look at this very carefully. So hence all the exponents of the self-empty should reanalyze their accepted view with unbiased intelligence. They need to examine this extremely carefully. So generally, grasping at either things or non-things does not transcend fixation on the extreme. So if you grasp it at something, it's an extreme. If you grasp at nothing, it is an extreme. It does not transcend the fixation on extremes. However, the nature of some mere empty aspect that is merely free of extremes because all extremes have been blocked by mentally fabricated supposition is not similar to the ultimate. So this is something that we need to experience in our mind. When we experience our mind, then we see that it's not something. It's not nothing. It's free of all the extremes. But it's not just, is that just the merely emptiness, the internal inanimate emptiness? It's not that. The merely emptiness is not the ultimate emptiness. And so when we talk about emptiness, then in the path of the sutras, this is what we establish through inference as being the Dharma expanse, the Dharma Dhatu. The Dharma expanse is like that all things, the external appearances, the internal mind, all of these things are emptiness. And that emptiness, and there is the expanse of emptiness out of which all external things in our mind can arise. That is free of all the extremes and free of all conceptual elaborations. That is the Dharma expanse. It is the basis which allows all appearances to happen, or the expanse where all appearances can happen. That is the Dharma expanse. But is that Dharma expanse just mere emptiness? Is it just nothingness, blank nothingness? It isn't that. There is the clear aspect. There has to be that clear aspect. If it were just mere emptiness, it would be like the sky. It would be like empty space. With empty space, no matter how long you can wait months, you can wait years, and it will never develop any qualities or any wisdom. But with the nature of the mind, the Dharma nature, the Dharma of expanse, when you really understand it and you see that, then there is the possibility that all the qualities can develop. And so the emptiness of the Dharma nature has the potential for the qualities of the Buddha. In the path of the Vajrayana, we say, is this something that we can actually realize? It is something that we can realize. Can we develop these qualities? We can develop these qualities. Why is it that we can do this? It is because of this clear wisdom aspect. It is not an inanimate emptiness, a dead emptiness. There is the clear wisdom emptiness, and wisdom aspect, and because it has that clear wisdom aspect, then all the qualities can occur. So it is not similar to the ultimate emptiness. And so this is as the omniscient Dharma Lord, that is the great Longchenpa said.
Tene ta kenchi longchen ba ge song na cai to ye mi ta da li he na yong da li ye mi hi si si da wa jin se tene cai to ye ba yong mai me ba yong mai ta da da wa yin se ne ra cha bo da bo he ge yo re he na yong tene ya bo ji he ge yo re de yin na yang dong ni ge ye de kan de yin ba de da li ye de he ge yo ma re 잘기대 야보제 해나 되네 살동 성동 주바 살와탄 동바니디 냠도 예베게 내루 데 되네 야보제 희구기 요아래라 데 마히네 동바 동중 제도 다나 데 다단다 기팀베 검라 스피체미 검데 예메메메세 주미 젠치 뭐이게 나네 예메메메제 따와데 시치 따와진레 드니 예메메메데 문니게 튜니게 내루데 또요 말해라 소호도 제티바 초조게 네종도세나 산지 내루데 야보지 또요 말해 디 거기요 말해 드니 디시치 따와진 리서나 템반델 치를 주베 치를 드니 디 산지 점딘데 템바 말해 손지 점딘데 지 템베가 다 도하니게 람 도이 논도세나 오마타 오마론톤도 겐통게 따와요 말해라 소호도 제티베 온도세나 차지 쳔보도 조바 쳔보요 말해 동바 동중 손노도나 대점게 펜토 쳔보요 말해 모티베 따와다 본 로기요 아래 남바 산지 템반델 치르도 주바이나 다치란서 딘데기 추이지 희게요나 드니 샘데 남카 동반다보제 차게요 아래라 남카 동바데 드니 남키 이진생게데 다 모디 제르 발고게요 아래 모디 제르 바가 따와데 라 송노 동데 나치란서 따와데 모디 제르 따와데 인도요 아래 모디 제르 따와 인도데 모디 제르 제바요 세네 야포레 드니 모디 제르 제바 카리세 그리신 드니 그 마페 루보 제르 총 tene lupola talasyo ta te moti jerba tene nyamne ji jerba nyamne sinki tinzu tinde chegi yore la ta cheranso tinde sen yapore sumi
So as the omniscient Dharma Lord Longchenpa said, if you just say free of the extremes of existence and non-existence without knowing the basis of removal, if you just say that it's free of being something or existence, free of being non-existence, free of all extremes, you can say this, it's great, it sounds wonderful, you might know well, but if you do not understand the basis for removal, if you don't understand what it is 가서디라 통시라 칸데 고진 그래. 통시스.
달기 생긴데 동바동종다.
동바동종.
동바티 예티 살와 이히티 메바제 말이.
Okay. So
예동도 켈랭게요 말아.
Okay.
케메니 동바동종 제나 달기디 야부히요.
다시 요마.
동바 달시디 무보통 진선바탄 달니 동발라 때나 바그리 디 예텔라 디 데워히 비니보요아레 데워히 비니보요 바 마히바레.
Okay, so if you say just free the extremes of existence without knowing the basis for removal, so if you just say that there's nothing and don't understand what the basis for it, if you say that everything is emptiness without understanding that the basis of that emptiness is the Buddha nature, then that view. Then you don't understand it well. If you understand the basis of removal, the Buddha nature, well, you realize that it's the union of the clarity and emptiness. There's the clear aspect and the empty aspect. These two are together. They're joined. These two are indivisible. This is the nature of how it is. We need to understand this well. Otherwise, if you do not understand this and you say it's just merely emptiness, then your view is that of the peak of existence. So the view of the peak of existence, this is the view of the highest of the formless realms. So the four formless realms, the highest of these is the realm of neither conception nor non-conception. It's also called the peak of existence. And so it's just like your meditation. It's just like the meditation that will lead you to be reborn there in that highest of the formless realms. And so that is not realization of the Dharma nature as it is. In terms of the Mahamudra and the Dzogchen teachings, we'd say you have not realized the nature of the mind. You haven't really understood and realized the nature of the mind. Because this goes outside of the teaching, and so it goes outside of the teaching. It's not what the Bhagavan Buddha taught. It's not in the teachings of the sutras. It's not in the teachings of the Tantra. In terms of the sutra, it's not the teaching of the self-empty. It's not the teaching of the other empty. In terms of the secret mantra Vajra, it's not the teachings of either Mahamudra or Dzogchen. So having just a view of it just being mere blank emptiness is not anything. It is it is an outsider view. So it's like spreading dust on the sky of the mind. And so it's like you're just saying it's all like the sky, just blank emptiness with no qualities like that. And so just spreading the dust on it here is a reference to the non-Buddhist, the Digamba, naked ascetic or Jain school. So what the Jains do is so if you're gonna that your view is just like the view of the Jains, and so if you're gonna have the view of the Jains, then you might as well act like the Jains. And if you're going to act like the Jains, then what you have to do is you have to be extremely meticulous about your conduct. You must go around naked, and then you must smear yourself with dust. And so if you're going to have this view, then that is how you should treat yourself. But it doesn't do a whole lot of good.
Tene ta teacher na ta tanda ngaranso nelu yapu jitena phabu kandere se na ta tanda kama pasumba ranjung doji ki chaja jimbe menam gana ne yepa mai jalwe joma se mepa mai khonde kanji ye gand mai sunju umlam thadar semji chuni to parkho sumarela tene te ya semje nelu ta chuni ge ta tanda penna umapa ge tawa tena phabu kasala chu tamji yepa revision yepa mare chu tamji yepa la ngaranso nyege mare ribite la phana yu nyege yo mare gambe nyons nyu na yu nyege gambe nyons nyu ne senje nelu la ta na yu nyege yo mare ribite la phade chu tamji ta tanda tombo sedot na wa ton dodi pitawa te tiji su sensam pitawa te tiji su chu tamji toni de ten la phapata toni la yo korem yendlo uma ronji pitawa ton uma yin uma tanjur pitawa ten la phatne chu tamji thadar ton tuidar de ten la phat yo arevesina yo mare tamji tomba ni re te sonji jam den de ji jo zigi yo mare la mepa main khonde kanji yese tene tanda kinchi longchin bi sunga nangi mepa changpa revesina mepa changpa mare tang Khenpo Ganshar ge song yo re tanda longchin ranjang ge song yo re tene te mepa changpa mepa mechongchi dhalgi mepa tende ji revesina mare Tini te mepa changpa ina, tini muti jerbu bandabu chandu yore la. Tini teacher na mepa changpa mari, mepa ma in kundi kanji ki korwa tan nyangin lindepa, korwa ki chari yete, tanda nongwa tin chari ki yete, kandiri se na, tombi ki nongdo sarwa ki yepa la tini, nongwa namba natso pandi chari ki yore. Te yendo tanda nyangin lindepa sanji ji yentin yung kapsa la, yentin kandi se ne, tini, 다산지 좀 된대지 챈바다 제와도 누비 yenten데 챈시 누스음지 yenten데 간디신 중거 요아레스는 디똥바 똥중거 노네 되는 챈시 누스음게 yenten데 좀 희게 요 말rel라 되네 디 똥바 똥중거 ngoode 살와 임발라 되니 되네 챈베기 이히디아 용거 요아레 챈베 이히에 발라 되니 제위 투제디아 용거 요아레 제위 투제디아 발라 되니 누바 푸섬수 버틀네디아 용거 요아레라 되니 준신 티처나 mepa mayin kundi kanji ye tati tanga ngaransu songo tongdi yepa mayin na mepa yin goba mepa mayin na yepa yin goba yemi ni di ngandun rabo de tonga yuware de di ngandun rebi se na ngarwa mare ngandun mayin sunju umelam yemi ni di nyomdo tongju salwa tong tongba ni di nyomdo hyarchogo Tombe ngo de sarwa yimba sarwa te ngupo dendrup ga namba je ngupo dodo ga namba dabo je mayimba salwe ngo de tomba yimba te sunju umelam yen u trumbo te yepa tapenta la manu mepa chepenta la manu u trumbo te na yore umelam tata tawa te kana yore sen senji nelu ga te yore senji tadar senji chuni to pariko te to pariko ta ngaranzu te to ju de kal cheware kong melam jadu ga te thamchi ji te senji nelu te to pariko so melam jana
So we need to really understand and internalize what the nature is like. But when we do that, what is it like? How do we do this? It is as the third Karmapa, Rangjung Dorje, said in his aspiration for Mahamudra. Not something, even Buddhas cannot see it. Not nothing, it's the basis of samsara and nirvana. Not a contradiction, it's the middle way of unity. May we realize the nature of mind, free of all extremes. And so when we realize the nature of the mind, the way the mind is, or whether we talk about it as the Dharma nature, the Dharma expanse, in the middle way view, when we come to understand, is this something? Does it exist? Is it something? No, it doesn't. We cannot find anything that exists. If we look with logic, we cannot find anything that exists. If we look through our meditation, when we look at the nature of the mind, we cannot find anything that's something there. There's no solid thing, no something that we can find there. Whether we look at it through meditation or logic. And so with logic, first we come to really know the views of the great exposition and the sutra schools, and then we come to understand the view of the mind-only school, and then we meditate upon the emptiness of all phenomena. And in meditating on the emptiness of all phenomena, we follow the sequence of first following the autonomous school, and then following the meditations of the consequentialist schools. And so we come to realize that all phenomena are emptiness. They are free of all extremes, free of all elaborations. And so when they're emptiness, is there something we can find that's empty? We can't. Even the Buddhas cannot see it. And then it says not nothing. It's the basis of samsara and nirvana. So if it's not something, well, does that mean it's just does that mean that it's nothing? It's not just merely nothing. It's not merely non-existent, as Khenpo Gangshar has said. If it has just said, if it were just blank nothingness, then that's not understanding the basis for the removal, the basis for the emptiness. It's not just a mere emptiness, is like the view of the Jain schools, of the Digamba naked ascetics. So it's not nothing because it's the basis of samsara and nirvana. So it's the basis. How is it the basis of samsara? Well, because because this emptiness also has the clear aspect, then because of that, all of the various appearances and perceptions we have are able to occur. And then all of the qualities of nirvana are also able to occur. And when these qualities of nirvana appear, then they're the qualities of the Buddhist qualities of wisdom, love, and power. How is it that they appear? If it were just mere blank emptiness, then these qualities of wisdom, love, and power would not be able to occur. But the essence of that mere emptiness is clear. Because it is clear, then the wisdom can arise. Because there is that wisdom, there is the love. That is the compassionate love. And then because of the love, there is the power, the activity, and the resplendent and excellent activity of the Buddha. And so, for that reason, it is not nothing. It is the basis of samsara and samsara and nirvana. So now normally the way we think about it, if it ain't something, then it's nothing. If it ain't nothing, then it's something, right? So they're contradictory. It's either one or the other. It can't be both or neither. It's got to be, if it's not nothing, if not nothing, it's something. If it's not something, it's nothing. But so are they contradictory? Well, actually, they are not contradictory. The something and nothing are together. This is the union. The clarity and the emptiness are together. The essence of the emptiness is clear, but that clarity is not something that we can establish as a thing. It's not something that's true that we can establish as truly existence. And so the essence of the clarity is empty. And so that is the teaching of the middle way. This is it is not a contradiction. It's the middle path of unity, as Rangchung Dorje said. So it's not something. It's not being some. Because it is not something, it does not fall to the extreme of permanence. Because it is not nothing, it avoids the extreme of nihilism. It is free of all of the extremes. And so this is the unified middle path, the unified way in the unified middle way. And where do we find this? We find this in the nature of our mind, the nature of our mind that is free of all extremes. And so Rangjung Dorje concludes the stanza with a prayer: may we realize the nature of our minds, free of all extremes. So may all sentient beings realize this nature of the mind.
Tene tatige umatanjiru tawa tate umatanjiru tawa te tenla pap umatanjiru tawa te la umayentong tawa gupi ki junse dabo samne tate umatanjiru tawa te tembare la tene tate jesu umayentong tawa tembare ten terengi chutin te zum hyona te ze kasen kenyi tene tuan dabo nang de na tuan hit nang juga kokam dabo ja choma songla tering tuan kahi nang na daso nang ro ji.
And so here this talks about how we can really come to understand and internalize the view of the consequentialist school. And when we do that, we also need to have the view of the other empty school. And so for that reason, we have now completed the section on the consequentialist view, and next is the view on the other empty school. But that's maybe enough for this morning. But in the past couple of days, we haven't really had a whole lot of time for questions. So now if you have some questions, please ask them. We'll have time for a few questions.
Rinpoche, I know that basically meditation instruction is very personal, but for instance, in meditation on shamatha, there's a general instruction of following the breath and that sort of thing, or focusing on the breath in order to establish shamatha. Is there some similar instruction for meditation, looking in at the mind rather than focusing outwardly. Just some kind of a general instruction that could be given.
Chitandila ane gomdila chitan dawena shine dawena chitan la ane uchung la ane samlatene de shine gomne de shine gi gom tempo chagi pe luxo dawadan ane gorim dawachi yure dena shin la also sen kanang du kanan la tang ne kaso senyi la ta la kaso mixe kaso chitang ge kaso ne menga dawu yure be
Tela Tachitang Mengon Rabote Canderisena, Sam Kanang the Tane, Tombo Montre de Latinite, Jane Joni, Gomiate, Karchembo, Imbacheta, Jane Joni, Gomiate, Jane Jomba, Jane Joni, Gomba Jomba Maimba, Tinitela, Nyam Yota, Jito Ni Yorella, Tini. Nyam yoga kapsula yang tutun double gum. Tiniti jito jacapsula, tiniti samain, pa tenhiji, sani, nyam yoga sorwati maji, pa yangse train to pajay, sejuta. Nyam ji ni de dreama, nyam ji sewasi, nyam yoga jito ni de, nyam yoga jito la taperna carriere sena. Nyam yoga castle gomja, then Jihop the castle, no giants, Canaina and Dro, Canaina, Son on Drummond the tongue, then each other on some not to be Jason Duncana, taste in Triggy or Marilla. The Tenhik is Tapa Zoni, Tita into Traina, there's a panky or a lot, need to compare to Tap J. Tap Nipa the Canderesena, then Mugu Yapojewana. Tene lamen nanjur ndaboje gamne solwata manam ja yana Khenpo Rinpoche nambasong solwata tene ichi depa yapoje tene sena ya tige mugu ge solwala tene lamsong te se topa compare to ndabo tene yungu yora tichena mugu gamje go sumbaje songarela tene tende ge tapki namba ni sena yapo yora eso.
Sort of a general instruction for this is that first you look at the mind, you recognize the mind and the nature of the mind, and when you do that, then you sort of maintain and nurture that. It is very important to do this. But while we are just nurturing the experience of the nature of the mind, then we shouldn't just merely do that. We have both the meditation and the post-meditation, and these are important. The meditation sessions can be short, and then when you get up into the post-meditation, then you should keep your mind undistracted, maintain your mindfulness and awareness, and just not forget the feeling of the equipoise, the feeling of the meditation. Remember that again and again, and if you do this, this is combining your post-meditation and the equipoise. So these two, it's combining the two, it's mixing the two. So this is mixing the experience and the post-meditation, and this is very important. So when we do the post-meditation, if we were to rest in equipoise, do our meditation, and then get up, and whatever our mind goes, we just follow it. If we just follow our mind off into thoughts of greed or aversion or delusion, and that's not okay. We have to maintain our mindfulness and awareness. We have to keep them strong and use them over and over again. Remember that experience. And if we do that, then that will help. That is the first method. The second method is devotion. So we need to develop devotion. We can do the practice of Guru Yoga and make supplicate and make aspirations, and through that develop our motivation. This will help our meditation. Or we can supplicate the precious three jewels. This will increase our belief and our faith. And if our belief and our faith increase, then because of the feeling, because of the feeling of the devotion, we will be able to develop our realization. And so this is why it is said in the Vajra lineage prayer that devotion is the head of meditation as it's taught. And so these are the two different methods you can use.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you. Rinpoche, I wanted to re-ask a question as best I remember it. You were teaching on the philosophical schools some years ago, and a student asked this question, and your answer was really helpful to all of us in the group because it kind of brought to life that some of the lower, so-called lower schools, there were great meditators there, and which I think we can lose the fact of that, or the idea of that sometimes when we're studying the schools. And the question went like this, as I remember it. The student said, Rinpoche, I have read that the Chittamatrans were great meditators. Would it be correct to think that their realization in their meditation was as profound as the later schools, but that they did not express it as well? And your answer was so helpful to that, Rinpoche. Maybe you could answer that again. Thank you.
Ta lo ngoma la lo kashing la ne ta lo ma chi ki tuwa chik tang dupta gi kola tuwa chik tang de len la pe pento tempo jun de kaso tuwa de yanja ti tang na samsung da tuwa de la kariyo de sana pena ne sensam gi dupta na la ane gomchen kashiyo de gompe yabo do ne toba jabo do de konsogi ane semsam베게 케바 남기에 가서 곰게 토파데 가서 ane 가서 줍타 고만한 신 잡고 자모 잡고레베 야나 치시나 콘서 카르스고 곰체 곰라네 토파 야포케네 있는데 야포네 셰미토 잡고 중이나 칸디나
다티 따위게 때나 파프갑다 gombe nyonsu nyong kap tini te tse kakarela. Ta tawi tenla papakasala ta che sem senkin te dembar tuba che gugu do samne chu che domi chasan che mato pa re te ina yung gombe nyonsu nyong yung kapsala ta gom samu ta tu pa hlomnir se du te la tini sensam pa tawa te sensam pa tawi ge yentin te je tini ti ngupon zimbe ke tawa ti ranking ke pa yal ta ai ti yosa mare sonne tini ranking ke tawa le juk do ji jere ma to sensam pe tawa rang gom sensam pe tawa rang drup sensam pe tawa rang ke ten dreb top tinde hiro yo mare la tini ranking ke tini rang chembe ke zal drabo ti jene tawa le juk do ta ti pa chimbo yimbe chena tawa le juk do tinde ke woni dreb ti top yin.
Here we have to distinguish between the periods when we are establishing the view and the period of meditation. These are different. In terms of the view, the mind only does hold that the mind can be truly established. That is that otherwise, and so in that respect, they have not, in terms of the view, realized the true nature of phenomena. But in terms of the experience of their meditation, when they're meditating, then they follow the good aspects of the mind-only view. Following the good aspects of this, they come to see the nature of external phenomena, and then they see, well, actually, that mind can actually be truly established. It can't be established as a thing. It really isn't like that. They can't be like that, they say. And so naturally, they then gain the view of the middle way. If they were try to sort of force themselves to follow the middle way, the mind-only view, the mind-only meditation, just meditate upon it like that, there wouldn't really be any way for them to actually meditate or to attain any result out of it. Naturally, because of the strength of their own wisdom, they'll just naturally enter the middle way view. And so this is in terms of the Mahayana, they'll naturally enter the middle way view.
Good morning, Rinpoche. Khenpo Ganshar and yourself have been quite clear about how the Prasangika view can lead into a sterile nihilism. And I was wondering if is there a value in for us as practitioners in going deeper into understanding the Prasangika view, while knowing that we don't want to go too far.
Chitan de la Rinpoche Ranita and Khenpo Ganshar Konrike Kaso Tajube Tawala and Chepetawa Ginyanka Yure. Chetagi Nyanka Yure. Then de Kaso Dasha Chiba Dawachin de Shada, the Mambo Jana de Chepetawa Ginyanka Yuna, the Kaso Intimity Daw Jangurbe, Yana Tes Kaso Samda Washagarbe.
Tachepertawa Yepati Neil Johnson de Yapo Motena, Tate Kora Mote Yapo Nandu de la Tene Ta Tanda Rongtong Yentong Tawa, Tini Yomda Yapate Kalchemporation, Tenagi, Jupate Chepertawa de Targi or Chetak Gil Mundo, etc. Ate Rongtong Pala Chetan Roju Nyanka Yore, Sundutel, Tinulomatsu with the Zaza Cheju, the Tijil, and Tenti, Sigrava. Petty in the Munkumati, Nakononi, Duna Sasa and Tugas, Jimati Zaza Chidrojeva. Oh, Dapsare, Dunang. Pernangaranso Monogon Road. And go up such a duasina. Oh, thank God.
When we say that there's the danger of the nihilistic view, what we really have to do is just actually recognize what the way it is. We need to really recognize that, and then when we recognize that, we need to have both the Rangtong and the Shentong views together. We have to have both of these together. And so if we do that, then I think there's not a whole lot of danger that you'll fall to the nihilistic extreme. So when we say that there's the danger of there being a nihilistic view, it's like saying, okay, be careful about this. Just be careful. It's not saying don't study. It's saying be careful about that. It's like when you're going into a dark room, it's like there might be something you can fall into or something you can bump your head on. So someone says, watch out, there's a low beam there you might whack your head on. And so you go in there and you duck and try to get out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for these teachings.
Okay, so no more questions. Okay, so no more people get up. 4 is enough. Okay. Okay, you're okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I hope I'm not taking up the space of 4.
No.
By already, because Bill may already have asked this question, but I'm not sure I understand it. How is it that the Chittamatran school, mind-only school, asserts mind exists, and the Shentong school asserts Buddha nature exists? Is it that the mind-only school doesn't understand the essence is empty, and that the Shentong school is asserting that Buddha nature is empty? I'm not sure I understand this, how they're different.
Sensambe tawa tarana de semdem pertuba kelengure, semde yopor kelengure. Da shendombe tawa na de kaso. Deurship nimbo yopor kelengure. Tene tes de kebra de shira sabo gogumundo de sensamba de sensamba tawa ge kaso de ngo tomba ane kaso hamakoye taboyena yana ane shentong tar de kaso deurship nimbo tomba dabo Hamakoya Dauribe.
Tatilla, Tigarandaburi, La Sensampi, Gunjin number keep at the Kandi Kelengi or in Mupo, Tetomba Mahimba, for a Tetomba Rizona, Tene Kanga Zawandaboti, Mepachog, those on the the Ngupo Imbal, Kelengi water, Yintongi, Tony the Kelengi water. Then Kingi number Hibati, Ngupo Kelengi water la. Then Oma Yenton be, Deorhi be Nimboti, Ngupo Kelengi omare. Yendan Yihi Sondun Jupasungi water la. Deorhi be Nimbu, the Tomba Imba. Tomba Yena, Tomba the Salwa Imba. Tomba the Salwa Imba. Tanda Kingi number Hibati, Tomba Imba, Tomba the Salwa Imbati, Senton Betena Pavio Marella. Oma Yenton be Deorhi be Nimbu, the Tomba Imbata. Tomba the Salwa Imba. Tomba the Chögyam angel. Chögyam angel the Salwa. The Deorhi be Nimbu. Attending the Chepariore. Tomba Iming Chepariore. More Tomba Im. Chögyam Chapmacha. Perna Chögyam the Vajra. Kingi number Hibala Chögyam Chapa Kelengi Omare. The Ngupore. La Deorhi be Nimbola Chögyam Chayore. Yang Chapni, Yang Dai Song to Kelengi.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Now, when we talk about the mind-only school, what is it that they assert is, how do they describe the all-ground consciousness? They say it's a thing. Because it's a thing, it's not empty. If it were empty, there wouldn't be any basis for all of the appearances to arise. So they say that it is a thing. Whereas and so in this way they say everything else is emptiness, but the ground consciousness is a thing. It's a real thing. In the Shentong, the other empty view, they say that the Buddha nature is not a thing. They say it is the union of the expanse and wisdom. The essence, its essence is empty, but that essence is also clear. So the the mind-only school does not really establish or try to come to comprehend that the essence of the ground consciousness is empty and that the essence of that emptiness is clear. They do not understand that. Whereas in the other empty school, we say that it is Buddha nature. That Buddha nature is emptiness, but that emptiness is the expanse, what we call the expanse, the Dharma expanse. But the essence of that is clarity. And so this is the distinction between the two. The mind-only school says that the ground consciousness is a thing. It's not empty. It's a real thing. And so in this way, it's not can't be pervaded by the Dharma nature. The Dharma nature is emptiness, and if the ground consciousness is a thing, it cannot be pervaded by the Dharma nature. Whereas in the other empty school, then because the Buddha nature is also empty, it is pervaded by the Dharma nature, and so in this way, the Buddha nature is the union of the expanse and wisdom.
Okay, thank you so much, Rinpoche.
Thank you so much. This is a question about the qualities that you referred to that arise out of meditation. It's another stanza from the aspiration prayer for Mahamudra. Listening to scriptures and reasoning frees us from the obscurations of ignorance. Reflecting on key instructions vanquishes the darkness of doubt. Meditation's light illuminates the true nature just as it is. May the brilliance of the three kinds of wisdom increase. And Rinpoche, what is he referring to when he says the three kinds of wisdom, please?
Tanda tela lunri to be Mickey dribble troll singing to be here. Mengo some betesam mono jumps at Tambo, London ripatin to 2니 2비히라고 되지. 다 2 사도 때라 디 맹어 때라 용니 용도 섬니 맹어 섬베 태섬 문어정. 드니 동부 태섬 요아래라. 섬로 야부 땅 따지 야부지 태섬 때 매바지. 디 섬비히라고 니지. 드니 다디 섬비히라 장바디 단다 이게 지복 따완다 지리도라. 지복 따와 인디텔 다텔 카레고기 요아르스는 곰고기 요아래. 곰중 왜 지네루 지힌 살생기데 숨바 곰비히라텔. 드니 투 섬 곰숨기 히랍섬데 모아데 예브르쇼스.
The three wisdoms here is the here wisdom. It's the Tibetan word prajna. It's what I sometimes translate as full knowing. It's not the wisdom as in the 5 wisdoms. It's the 3 wisdoms as the wisdom or the full knowing of born of listening, born of contemplation, and born of meditation. So the first line where it says, listening to the scriptures, we'd conquer the darkness of ignorance, is saying it's developed. First we listen to things, and then we develop the full knowing or the wisdom that is born out of listening. And then when we have that, then there's we listen to the instructions, and then we think about them over and over again. We contemplate them over again. Through contemplating the instructions, we remove all doubt. And so at first there's some sort of doubt, but we think about the instructions. We've listened to the instructions. We think about them over and over again, and then we rid ourselves of any doubt. So that is the full knowing born of contemplation. And then that alone is not all that we need. We think about that is the view from inference, and so we need to meditate upon that. The full knowing of meditation frees us from all the obscurations, and so that is the full knowing or the wisdom that is born out of the meditation. So in this way, it's saying, may the light of the three full knowings of the 3 wisdoms of listening, contemplation, and meditation increase.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Rinpoche. My question is it possible to bring the 7th consciousness into our meditation? And how do bodhisattvas abandon that stable consciousness of that subtle me going on all the time?
다 뉴 데 가서 검주유 잡아야 돼서 검카서 데 뉴이게 텐도 검주유를 직제 다 뉴이 가서 소좀 많이 가서 뉴몬페 넘버 7 뉴데 드네데 장주 선배 가서 람카서 데 방겨래 데 간데치 간데치네 방겨래
데라 녜이 뽕똥라 넘버 2 와라 다 티파 멤버게 닌투 다짬바고 닌투 다짬바게 녜이 간디시 방게 와레세나 좀 다운징 빵네 데네 공사가 다메바 감네 당가랑 루제 난다 체다 샘제 타인도 공사가 다다 다그린즘베게 유르디 요마레 파 톰보 투성게 때나 밥 데네 투성게 때나 밥네 디덴도 감네 타르 데네 통롱게 이히 다 공사가 다 만두와 sambe 능성게 냠스뇽 데네 능성게 냠스뇽 땡데 요니 용도 감네 골롱게 히락게 또네 다 녜이데 감 빵게 와레라 데 녜투게 녜이 봉베 탑 다 티바 침부게 데네 공사가 다 녜이 데 짱바 감베게 빵베게 탑 제게 요아레베세나 요 말에 추탐지 똥바니레 데네 추탐지 똥바니 인두텔라 데네 디나 다데 요 말에 추탐지 요 말에라 다데 네바데 랑킹게 또노 요아레 추탐지 돈이 임발라 또네 데네 동보 투성게 때나 밥 데네 데감 데네 감네 통람톱네 감랑 딜라지 감랑게 요니 용도 감네 데네 녜이 방게 와레 디 녜이 본톤데 제게 공사가 담이 감발라 데네 방게 와레 데네 티바 침부가 온게 돈이 도발라 데네 방게 와레 당가란서 송호 도지 티플로네 칸디스 강고게 와레센 당보 체게 추니게 Chuji Yang the Gongi or Mare, Nanga Santil, Sanji Nelu the Gongi or Sanji Nelu the Chuji and the Jibare. Chuji and the Jiba in detail, Sanji Nelu the Yapuji Tona, Santi Zawa in detail, Che Tony the Gongi or Mare, Rangingi, Tenichutanji Tony in by the Togi or Tony the Topala Teni, Sanji Dandel, Nyamon Bay, Dottons and Big Yurdi, Yomarella, Tenite Tombo Tawi Tenapa. 단단 알아서 생활이 네 나서도 또 바테 가리르스는 따와래 다 디텐도 감바요 감바게 타인도 되니 무슨 통네 통랑토네 되니 강랑 질라지 되니 림비게 되니 뭐비 방게 와라
There are different ways to discard or rid ourselves of the afflicted mind. For the arhats of the listener vehicle, what is it they do? Well, they focus on giving up clinging to a self. They meditate upon the selflessness of the individual. They see that they look inside the self, they look outside the body, they look in their body and outside things. And in terms of their mind, they see that there is no individual self, and they meditate upon that. So first, they develop the full knowing of this through listening and contemplation. They understand this through that, and then they meditate upon that. And then as they meditate upon this, they come to the point where they as they attain the full knowing of the path of meditation, they see that there is no individual self, and so they are able to discard the afflicted mind. And so that is the path of the listeners, the foundation vehicle. In the Mahayana, they don't just try to see that there's no self. Don't try to give up the afflicted mind. Rather, in the Mahayana, we meditate that everything is emptiness. And when we see that everything is emptiness, then, of course, the self is also emptiness. If everything is emptiness, the self also must be emptiness. And so we naturally realize that there is no self. And so first we meditate, we study, that everything is emptiness. We contemplate this, and then after we really understood that and internalized it, we meditate upon it. Through meditating upon it, we attain the path of seeing. We see it directly. Then, because of that, we automatically gain the wisdom of the path of meditation, and then gradually are able to discard the afflicted mind. So the first method is to meditate upon the selflessness of the individual. The Mahayana method is to meditate upon emptiness. And in the secret mantra Vajrayana, we don't really meditate upon the emptiness of all phenomena. We don't really meditate upon the Dharma expanse. Rather, we meditate upon the nature of the mind. The nature of the mind is the same as the Dharma expanse. And so if we realize the nature of the mind, because the mind is the root of everything, it's not necessary for us to actually realize the emptiness of external things. We just naturally realize that they are all emptiness. And so we meditate upon the mind, and we first realize this, and then gradually we see this, we study this, and then we meditate upon. Then when we actually see the nature of the mind, that is when we attain the path of seeing, and then we meditate upon it through the path of meditation, and in that way we gradually discard the afflicted mind.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche. I wanted to ask, the realization of the arhat that Rinpoche has described sounds so profound. And so I find myself asking if so much fixation is gone and all there's left is atoms and partless moments, why then is the Buddha nature still obscured? And I'm wondering, because it seems like such a big realization, I'm wondering if it's obscured because what's left is still perceived as finite. And therefore that makes me wonder if that's the case, if our teachers encourage us or tell us we must work with bodhicitta and with devotion, because as we approach infinite samsara and suffering, and then start to work with developing compassion with less and less limits, that pushes us past any notions of anything finite.
Dela ane nyanta dachompa toba dela samotandu pe mise zamodawo nangyere. Da dene de samotandu te kaso ane nyanta dachompa kaso duten chame dan kechima chame de tombo togyo mare. Tene de indu morangi samotandu de kaso derishepi nimbo de kaichini tarung dribare. Derishepi nimbo de kaso tarung dribare. De kaso de chichina morangi samchana chichina de kaso kechima chameda kaso duten chame dini kaso tis tayipadrawo yures di tameba di tometupadrawo chayures tine de indu ngaso de tepa chempe gomda ani sanga doje tepe gi gom rimlaya ani ngaso tambare mugu da ani ninje dan janchubi sem kegure de kebi jumsen kaso de kiene de tamebe koregi dunga de kaso tongne de tamebe gi ane ninje kiene kaso de kaso tam kaso tale de begi yeshedabo kegi na dabo de jumsen derbe
인지래 인사래 대 가리리세나 닌투 드라점바게 드니 다 단다 공사 그 도미 또바레디 이나야 다제 나라 타르바톱주데 갈치보레 다 당보 나랑 코르발레 타르구레 공아 다 tin데 공기 와레라 데 타르베게 쳇도 공사 그 도미 바강 Da me pa gamdu te la tne inti minti zonga do tren chami te hipa ke ji chami ni te tomba to gu yo mare la ta ti phumbo chom to demba ye nelu te gamna tne jopo khora da cham ko pon to gu yo ara tne teacher na kon nambala tne ta khori tombo ko go on the sena semji samji me ja pa mombu tan se ya ge som no ikhe da tang ge yo mare ngara ta tang po tharwa thoya te kal che bore som 디 때한테 더 공사가 더 매봐. 대 상지기 탑랑 케이프기 제도 콘주기 삼바 조부기 제도로 공사가 더 매봐 감바데 템바데 공사가 더 매봐 감바 템바긴도 공사가 더 매바데 강기 요래. 감니 니에 몸바텐 주 빵게 요래. 니에 몸바텐 방니 타르바토기 요래. 타르바토드 데라 다티니 다 년투 롱글 온드시나 타르바토 차르바데 다 딜랑 현도 조국이 요 말이 송하래 티파침분도 이노니 용차르도 다 마음발라 띵엔전정도 칼바맘보 라 유네티니 갑제라 야시니 티니 림비 티파침분론에 휴그레 다 딘데 송요아래 다데 노이 곰바레 테니 다탄데 티파침부가 동복근 홍가 다 나란 짱바 마인바 랑힌 생진 탐지 그 단지 제가게 yin somni 두구구구 요아라 티기 니톱 디제야텔라 공사가 더 매바 좀 감비기 니톱 디제 투기 요 말에 추지 더 매바 추통지 동바니 yin somni 지나 테니 티게 추통지 동니 임발라 테니 지바타 현반다보다 근데 힘시라 용주기 년감에 비친 최통지 돈이 감 최통지 돈이 당보 투성지 되네 감 되네 냠슬롱 되네 타르투 근데부 톱니 데데부 톰지 쳔부 공pon도고 요아들 다 디게 제 디게 트네디 섬지 맞아 받지신 코한 타마동가 받을 트네디 조야메 받아보지 저기 요아들라 티처나 티게 당보 제야데 종죽 생지 끌홍라 때네 당보 자침보제 섬겨바인 비치나 틴틴데브데 자침보제 옹기와르 단다 년투고 온데세나 동보 끌홍데 자춘춘제 제바인 비치 틴데브데 자춘춘다보제 옹기와르 봐 틴디기 말이 들어와도 틴데로
That's probably it. I don't know. With the arhats of the listeners' school, they realize the selflessness of the individual, but their motivation is, it's important for me to free myself from samsara. I want to free myself from samsara. And so that, with that intent, then they free themselves. And in order to do that, they meditate upon the selflessness of the individual. So they meditate upon selflessness. And they don't, in order to meditate on selflessness, there's no need for them to think about the atoms or instants being emptiness. They don't need to do that. Rather, all they need to do is think about the gross phenomena as being aggregates. And so they think about, through doing that, they're able to attain the status of an arhat. So in terms of their motivation, their motivation is not that I need to free all sentient beings. Their motivation is, I need to free myself. I've got to free myself from samsara. And for that purpose, they meditate upon the selflessness of the individual. So the Buddha was very skillful, and he taught many different methods. And he taught this method of meditating upon the selflessness of the individual. And so these individuals are able to meditate upon this. They're able to realize the selflessness of the individual, and then give up, discard all the afflictions, and through that they're able to liberate themselves from the samsara. And so that, according to the tradition of the listeners themselves, is the ultimate liberation. There's no need for them to engage in any further path and engage in further meditation. But according to the Mahayana, then we say that actually the listener arhats then spend many eons resting in meditation, and after many eons they finally awaken from that meditation, and then they enter the Mahayana path. And so this is according to the Mahayana sutras. Now, in the Mahayana, when we talk about the motivation of the Mahayana, the motivation is not just me. It's not just I need to free myself. The motivation is I need to free myself and all other sentient beings from samsara. And so I'm not going to just meditate upon the selflessness on the individual. I'm going to meditate on the selflessness of all phenomena. And so realize that all phenomena are emptiness. And if we are meditating to realize that all phenomena are emptiness, and we know that all phenomena are emptiness, then we do not have that fear. We do not have the attachments that would hold us back. We can meditate upon all phenomena as emptiness. So we first have developed the wisdom of listening and contemplating, then we meditate, we practice, and we attain the ultimate result. And that ultimate result that we attain is, as we said the other day, it is the result of omniscience. And so once attaining the result of omniscience, we can engage in inconceivably vast activity until such time as samsara is entirely emptied, until it is completely, all beings are completely freed. And so first at the beginning there is that vast motivation of bodhicitta. And because there is that vast motivation, the result is also a vast result. With the listener arhats, the result, or the motivation is limited, and so as a result, the result is also, as a consequence of that, the result is also limited.
Sang